Hannah, thank you for calling us, and it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us in our show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're here with Father Claude,
Hi, how are
and
you, Hannah?
it's great to see you.
Nice to see you.
Good.
So you
Nice
had
to see you
you
guys.
were interested in sharing some thoughts or kind of asking a sort of a question or a discussion thing for us to talk
Yes.
about.
Yes. So lately in prayer, it's been very silent. Like I'll ask God a question, like a major decision I have, like to make in life, and it's just silent. I don't hear anything back, and it's gotten me kind of worried. So I was wondering if you have any practical tips for ways to discern God's will for your life when God appears to be silent in prayer.
Well, that's a great question.
Hmm.
I would say, first of all, it's great that you're praying daily, right? And when we do that daily prayer, you want it to be meditation, like mental prayer. So a moment where you have silence in your life and in your day, maybe 10, 15 minutes, before the Blessed Sacrament or before a crucifix or in a quiet place in your house. So it's very common to think, at least today, that we ask questions to God and He somehow answers almost audibly. And if people say no, it's not audibly, of course, well, we think it has to be a very clear answer. And that is a very, you may have experienced that in the past, but that is
Mm-hmm.
very, I would call it extraordinary, right? The ordinary thing is that we are not typically hearing God's voice in prayer. We perceive what He might want. We can recognize His will in many ways, and that's where I would say the more ordinary path is the one that you're describing now. The question where I'm praying, I don't have a clear feedback. So I'd say that's an ordinary path. It's not a problem. It's not something to be worried about at all. All right. Many, many,
Okay.
many people live their whole lives like that, and even more silent. So then you have to try to figure God's will according to other tips, and that's what you're asking. So first of all, I would say you do know that there's commandments, right? And those are the law of God. You also have the virtues to practice, right? And the final end of your life. So the virtues and the final end are things that are taught in the gospel, right? So we know we have to glorify God. We know we are called to sanctify ourselves in this world, to glorify God and try to glorify others in our life. And therefore, I would say those are parameters that help you rationally, right, discern which path of the ones that you have realistically available are better or more conducive to that purpose for which we are created. And that's what St. Ignatius of Loyola says in the spiritual exercises, right? So the spiritual exercise has that, and it allows you, I would say, from the principle and foundation and different other sections of the book and the retreat to be able to figure out
Hmm.
those things.
Yeah, many times the Lord wants you to persevere in prayer, and sometimes He wants you just to use your skills, to use your will or your intellect, because He gave those gifts to you, and He's happy when you ask, because we have to ask in prayer. But then sometimes when He's silent, so okay, following the commandments, follow me the good advice of the church, of a spiritual director, so then you have to choose to exercise your freedom, and that's so beautiful. Do you pray every day?
Yeah. I at least try to, as long as I have the time for it.
Mm-hmm. And it's been too long being in this kind of silence of God?
Yeah, it's been probably like 6 months, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
of just like silence and prayer.
Uh-huh. Well, you know that Saint Therese, it was 18 years of desolation. No, it's 6 a month. You have to keep on trying.
You still have some more, 13 more years.
Right?
Yeah, well, and there's another idea. I don't know if you have ever done the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola. It's a silent retreat that we preach. You can find on our website the dates. Father Claude does it. Well, I mean, all of our priests, and that is a very good occasion to bring those concerns, right, to prayer, to the spiritual exercises. And then in the spiritual exercises themselves, St. Ignatius suggests another idea that is to continue praying, right? And also be attentive outside of prayer, of course, because God can give you graces anytime. But when you pray, you kind of do like a little homework. It's like a rational, intellectual thing, right? To lay out your options, option A, B, C, or maybe A and B, and you put the pros and the cons for option A and pros and cons for option B, and you see according to that, what you think is the better option. And then if you have no other feedback, you go with the better option, with what you think is best.
Okay.
That's just a
Alright.
summary. Okay, there's much more to say, but
Yeah.
well, thank
Yeah.
you. Do you want to?
No, just persevere and do not be discouraged. This is very, very important.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for joining us. I hope all this is helpful, and thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yes, thank you
Okay.
so much for the advice, fathers.
Well,
God
bye-bye,
bless
Hannah.
you.
Bye.